Welcome to the Stardesk Falcon 9 3D printing guide video. Really what I'm doing here is just going through the PDF that's included with the downloadable files and just kind of pointing out some of the important parts, but you could also just go through and read that PDF, which should give you all the information you need, but I'll go through some things real quick. First, I recommend printing with PLA or PETG filaments, as those are the most food safe filaments, and the water vapor does contact the plastic a little bit, although not a whole lot really. But just to be safe, I recommend those. I use all PLA for my parts. Second, the STL file units are all millimeters, so make sure you don't import as imperial into your slicer software. And then in general, I always recommend sticking with your printer's default settings for layer height and infill and stuff like that. I use 0.2 millimeter layer height and 15% infill, so anything similar to that should be fine. And then this is very important, but do not print with any supports. Make sure you turn off that setting in your slicer. I designed everything to be printed without supports, just because I really don't love cleaning up supports. I think it can ruin parts and makes everything look a lot messier, so yeah, I designed that very intentional there. But because of this, the part orientation, the way you place your part on your print bed, is very important. So you'll need to make sure that it's facing the correct way. So it should open up correctly in your slicer, so you won't have to flip anything or rotate any parts. But just to be safe, I've included in this file, I've included all images of what each part should look like when you print it. So I would double check these parts to make sure they look like this when you import them into your software. And then also with these, I include what color you should print each part, as you can see here. And then I'll point out here, there's a few parts where you need multiples of. Actually, just these two right here. So the tower corners, you'll need 8 of those pieces. And then the booster raceways, which are black, you'll need 2 of those pieces. Other than that, everything else should be just single pieces of each. Let's go back here. So there's a lot of small parts with pretty small surface area that adheres to the bed. So I like to use a glue stick to help some of my parts stick to the bed. I didn't know there's a lot of different bed adhesives out there, but using something like that may be helpful for a lot of parts. I kind of know which parts are going to be prone to that. Like right here, this booster is pretty tall with a small surface area contacting the bed, so I note that you might want to use glue or something like that. So yeah, keep an eye out for those parts. And then also along these lines, I recommend using a slower first layer speed. I do this with all my parts, but for those small ones, even going down to like 5 millimeters a second just for the first layer speed, I find to be pretty helpful. A few other notes here. There's a couple prints that are included with your kit. It's the button and the LC-39A letters. Those are, translucent pieces, so you need light to pass through those. And I figured a lot of people don't have that kind of filament laying around, so instead of just buying that, I just included those 2 pieces because you need those to be translucent to function correctly. And yeah, I mentioned you'll need a couple multiples. And of course, yeah, you can use whatever colors you like, obviously, but to make it look accurate, you'll need a darker and a lighter gray, a white and a black. So I figured those are pretty common. Hopefully you've got those. And yeah, again, just double check all of these, make sure they open in the correct orientation. And yeah, have fun printing them. And once you've got all the part printed, you can move on to the assembly guide.